Grab a front row seat to the untold stories as we talk about how to live life on your terms. You're officially part of the inner circle. Welcome to Courtside with Courtney. And don't worry, I comped your ticket. Welcome back to another episode of Courtside with Courtney. Today we have something really fun. We have, and by we, I mean me and you guys listening, we have a little what would Courtney do situation. I am going to take questions from you guys that y'all asked me over on my Instagram story and answer them and give you my 2 cents. If you're new to listening or you haven't been following me for a long time, I actually just did a funny video on TikTok, which has become one of my favorite places to share advice and talk through things with you guys. I just feel like TikTok is a very organic, kind of real, just raw, put yourself out there platform. And I love that. And so I've been loving giving advice over on TikTok, but I responded to this comment because this girl, shout out Jess, commented something on my TikTok along the lines of, oh, why should we take advice from someone who's been divorced and engaged? Something like that. And when I see those comments, it both makes me laugh and I feel sad for the person because it's truly a lack of perspective, really. For me, life is all about perspective. And I've been through a lot of stuff, like whether that's being divorced, being engaged to someone that was abusive and narcissistic and sociopathic, or losing my dad, losing my brother-in-law, losing my aunt, like all of these things. For me, the more things that you have been through, the better advice you can give because you've lived it. And for me, if I can help just one person listening and just give my 2 cents, obviously I'm not a therapist, but this is just my perspective after going through some of the things that I've been through. I've learned a lot and I've grown, and that's always the goal in life. It's just to learn and grow. And I'm in a super happy place in my life right now. I feel really grounded and happy and like true to who I am and confident. Like I feel like I walk into a room differently than I did 10 years ago. And so my advice, know that my advice is never, I always say this, but it's never coming from a high horse of I have it all figured out and my life's perfect and yours is shitty. It's like I have been through so many things that I can now come out on the other side of that, look back, and hindsight is 2020. I think if I knew the things that I know now, I wouldn't have gotten into a lot of situations that I got into when I was younger. And I don't regret anything because even when it comes to being married, it's like I have the most incredible 6-year-old. So I wouldn't have changed a single thing because it wouldn't have turned out the way that it did. I even think about that with Dibs, you guys, like with my brand. I think if I had made a different choice or decision, I wouldn't be here. Probably wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have a brand. I wouldn't have my daughter. I wouldn't have my friends I have. I wouldn't have any of the things I've had if I chose different things along the way. So I don't have any regrets. I feel so grateful to have walked the path that I've walked, and it's come with a lot of hardship. And so I'm here to give you guys a little bit of, my 2 cents on the topic. So let's get into it. What would you do if your boyfriend of a year asked for a break over text? Move on or get closure? To me, that is the closure. The guy kind of sounds like a loser, to be honest. I don't think I'm not going to sugarcoat these answers for you guys. So I apologize in advance if I seem harsh, but just know like I want the best for you guys. And I'm talking to you guys like I would be talking to my very best girlfriends. So for me, that is the closure. I think do what you need to do at the end of the day. If you want to ask his perspective or where he's coming from, if you feel like it would be helpful to have that information and get that feedback, then go ahead and ask for it. But I absolutely would not want to be with someone that thought that it was okay to ask you for a break over text message after he was your full-blown boyfriend for a year. Like he can go ahead and keep walking as far as I'm concerned. 25 and not being liked by girls constantly. What am I doing to be written off immediately? Ooh, this is a good question. And it's kind of hard to answer this without context. I think it could genuinely be something that you're doing that's off-putting to people, or it could be that other people are jealous and insecure. I think it totally depends on the situation. If you have like close girlfriends around you or close family and you feel comfortable having a dialogue with them about that, I would ask them for like their honest opinion about how you come off. Also, if you're shy, I feel like sometimes when people are shy and you can kind of like come off as a little rude or like stuck up if you're shy, but a lot of times it's just someone being a little bit uncomfortable or not the most like social. So I think it could either be that you are genuinely doing something that's like off-putting to people, Or it could be that the people that you're surrounding yourself with either don't get it, like kind of can't read between the lines if you're shy, or are jealous and insecure if you are genuinely like really confident. I do know that that happens as well. So I think it kind of depends on the situation. But hopefully that helps. I would say tips as far as like making friends and being a little bit more likable or open, like ask people about themselves instead of diving into just talking about you all the time. I think that really helps. Complimenting people, just simple things to like show people that you're trying to like support and lift them up too. Like, hey, I really love your outfit today. Like, you look amazing. And starting off with something like that can kind of tend to disarm people. So if you're struggling and you feel like you're genuinely coming from a good place and you want to make friends, I would try something like that. Or like switch it up. Try hanging out with new people. I think I was thinking about this the other day when it comes to growing up in high school, and there's still friends that I was friends with in high school that I have to this day that are still some of my very closest friends. And then there's people that I don't speak to and have no desire to speak to. Cause I think like in high school, being cool, I'm putting air quotes if you're listening on like Apple or Spotify, but like being cool feels relevant and important. And now it doesn't. And I think that sometimes just being cool is actually being different and like marching to your own drum and spending time with people that make you happy and doing your own thing. It doesn't mean hanging out with people that other people think are cool. So maybe also just switch it up and try hanging out with new people. Old fling, I think I'm reading this correctly, but your old fling is now in a relationship. He's newly engaged and is still trying to hook up with you secretly. Why? Why? Because he's a piece of shit. Absolutely. Abort mission. Do not hook up with this man if you value your self-respect over that. Because honestly, this is also one of my favorite things to say and like impart this wisdom. If they will do it with you, they will do it to you. It's kind of like how you lose them or how you got them is how you lose them. That same kind of sentiment. But if he is willing to be engaged, and you don't get engaged unless the person thinks you genuinely want to be there, obviously he probably had to ask her. So if he felt comfortable and confident enough in that relationship to ask another girl to marry him, that wasn't you, and still wants to hook up with you and have you on the side, he would do the same thing to you. So have more self-respect for yourself than that, honestly. And I would just ghost the guy, to be real. Never talk to him again because he sucks. And also karmically, like I always think about that stuff when it comes to karma. Like I think you want to be on the right side of karma with that one. So I would be a girl's girl, even though you may not even know her, but he just doesn't sound like a good person that I think you should spend your time with. Advice on breaking up with a friend, how to navigate. Thank you. You're welcome. It is difficult. Friendship breakups are difficult, but I think that at the end of the day, it's really important to surround yourself with people that genuinely lift you up, that you want to lift up, that have good intentions for you, that you have good intentions for. Like, obviously, all of this has to feel very mutual, but someone that you know is there for the right reason. A lot of times, whether it's people want something from you or they genuinely don't want the best for you, whether they're jealous of you or whatever it is, like they might not really like you. Like there are friends like that. We've all had a friend like that and it sucks. And the people that you surround yourself with, like you realize that the 5 people you surround yourself with really are the most important because that is kind of who you end up becoming. What you observe and consume and what you're constantly always around consumes you. So having the wherewithal to understand if someone isn't the right fit for you friend-wise, it's okay. It's good to walk away. It does feel like a breakup a lot of times because it's almost worse than a breakup. It's like deeply hurtful. Often these are like people that know so much about you that you've gone through some life with, and it can be hard, but I think it can also be good because it's good to evolve and grow. And if you've outgrown a friendship, sometimes it's worse to stay in it if it really isn't, right for you. Same thing as a relationship. And I think at the end of the day, consume yourself with like work and good friends and your health and like mental health and family and all these things. Do things that are genuinely bettering you as a person and surround yourself with people who have that who are like-minded to you. I think you'll go a lot farther. So if someone's kind of toxic or they're like a fringe friend, I feel like if you can actually cut it out, you'll be better for it. And you have time to invest in people that you want to invest in that deserve that friendship from you and not actually just like wasting your time. How to ghost or leave someone you're no longer interested in. I feel like I'm Delilah, you guys. Did anyone else ever listen? I'm aging myself, but did anyone else ever listen to Delilah back in the day? Like she was the shit. Okay. How to ghost or leave someone that you're no longer interested in. It depends how long you've been with someone. If you've been on one date with somebody, two dates with somebody, like you don't really owe them an explanation. I think you can kind of go off into the night unless that person asks you. I think if they follow up, like if they haven't reached out, it's okay to kind of have a mutual ghosting, but I'm always in favor of communicating because I think it's just kind of the adult thing to do. At the end of the day, hey, I'm not interested in pursuing this any further, but thank you. Like I had a great time at dinner, like wishing you well. It can be as simple as that. If it's a full-blown relationship, definitely don't ghost them. You have to have that conversation, but it could be the same thing, depending on your reasoning for not wanting to be with them. Hey, I just don't feel like this is a fit. I'm not finding myself super happy. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. Wishing you the best. Just kind of keep it simple. I find that's the easiest. He treats me amazing, but I feel like I've grown apart. Stay married or divorced. SOS. Help. So since I've been divorced, I feel like people always ask me, come into my comments and ask me like if they should get divorced. And I'm always happy to share my experience and my perspective and again, give my thoughts on something, but I can never tell someone else what to do in that situation because I'm not you. So it's tough. I definitely don't want to be like the reason somebody gets divorced. I can't be like, yeah, you should do it unless it's something really extreme. Like if someone is being abused or something like that, then like, yeah, obviously fuck that, leave. But if it's something like you're just growing apart, my biggest advice would be do all the work that you can, try everything you can, go to therapy, like really try. Cause I do think there's worlds where there's always going to be seasons in marriages, no matter how good your marriage is, no matter how happy your marriage is, no matter how much you love someone, how whatever it is, like it can be the best thing you've ever imagined. And you will absolutely have tough seasons and ebb and flows and peaks and valleys to things. And that's completely normal. You definitely don't want to just like throw in the towel if you're feeling a little disconnected. I think making sure that you're doing the work, putting in the time to not only work on the relationship and the marriage, but also yourself. Have like weekly check-ins, ask how you can better be showing up for your partner and vice versa. Try to create like more of an open forum for communication and conversation so that you can stay on the same page. Maybe do like weekly or bi-weekly date nights where you try to connect. Doesn't sound like, if he treats you amazing, it doesn't sound like you're at that point. So I would definitely say try and like re-engage and find ways to like spice it up and get interested again. I wouldn't give up. I definitely don't think there's any world where you want to throw in the towel too early. I think you will be able to sleep well at night every night, knowing that you did everything you could do. And then this kind of goes like blanket statement for anybody in this situation. Do everything you can do. And then if no matter what, it's not working and you're still miserable and they treat you like shit, then leave. But at the end of the day, if you don't feel like you've tried everything and they're kind and they treat you well, you can work through it. I would absolutely suggest trying to work through it. Divorce is not easy, guys. Like it's not, I think we live in a world where our society glamorizes cheating and glamorizes divorce and glamorizes like all these things. And we can joke about it. And I would much rather be divorced than be with someone that I was unhappy with, eternally unhappy. But it's not without really like fighting for it and trying and showing up every day. Like really trying to love the person hard. At the end of the day, if you've done that for months and weeks and years and it's just still not working, you cross that bridge when you get there. But I don't think it's like this fun kind of like cool thing. It's just a last resort. And if you have to execute that and pull that lever, then you just got to do it. And I will say, obviously, I'm so much happier now. I made absolutely the right decision for me, but I could confidently say that because I tried everything. So once you've tried everything, cross that bridge. Interested in a guy. He seems interested too, but hasn't yet shown up for me. There's distance between us, like 2 hours. We've been talking about 2 months and he says he will soon, sometime this month, but there's no set plan when I ask. Move on or wait it out. Move on. If he seems interested, it kind of sounds like he's just breadcrumbing you, stringing you along. My bet is he's probably talking to other people too, or he's just not in the headspace where he can have a relationship right now. If a man wants to, they will. They will move heaven and earth to be with you. Period. End of story. They're, of course, like there's, crazy exceptions to the rules. Someone's like really down and out, or they're absolutely slammed at work all week, but they would communicate that with you and they would still make a plan for 2 weeks from now if this week couldn't work. Like if people wanted to, they would show up for you. So I would say if he seems interested, but he hasn't yet shown up for you, it's kind of almost an oxymoron. When I read that sentence back, it's like him seeming interested to me would mean he was showing up for you. So pay attention to his actions and his words, because it's very easy to say pretty words, but is he showing up? Like, do his actions actually match his words? Or is he just kind of talking out of his ass? Because kind of seems like the latter. So I would say move on. Gave my mother-in-law boundaries and she keeps crossing them. Woof. So I think this one's tough because, again, some of these are hard without like a ton of context, but all you can do is control yourself, your actions, and how you want to show up. So if you set a boundary, you stick to the boundary. If you set a boundary and it comes to like communication and respect, and your mother-in-law isn't respecting that, then you have to communicate accordingly moving forward. Don't enable people like that, I would say, is my biggest thing. If you've told someone, hey, like my boundary is like, I want to discuss these things in person, and they keep texting you about something, don't respond via text. Say, would love to schedule time in person. You can still kind of steer the ship where you're respecting your boundaries. You can't always expect other people to show up in the way that you want them to. Or it might be a scenario where you wouldn't really need to set boundaries with someone if they had that like social wherewithal. So I would say you can still respect your own boundaries, even if they aren't respecting your boundaries, and just make sure that you're not communicating with them in a way that's like enabling her to continue to do that. What would Courtney do? I think BD means baby daddy, doesn't think our daughter, who's 7, has skills to join a basketball team. What the fuck? I don't know if you need like skills at age 7. Depending on where you live, like sports do get crazy really early. But I think for me, like my POV is put them in anything that they're interested in early on. Let them try it out. Let them feel it out. There is a world where like it's just fun and it's not about having the skills to do it. So I would say just go for it and encourage him to like, just go for it. Let's put her in, see if she likes it. Let's have fun with it. It could lead to doing something else too. You never know, right? Kinsley's really good at soccer, but she's also interested in doing gymnastics. Cool. Let's do that too. I think the more things that you can put your kid into, you don't want to overload them. Obviously, you need to have that boundary, but if they are interested, just do it. It's fun. Your friend lies about everything. How do you handle it? I probably wouldn't be friends with someone that lies about everything, because that just sounds exhausting and not like a genuine friendship. It probably is rooted in some deep-seated insecurities on their behalf. I would either bring it up in kind of a gentle way or probably just move on and not be friends with the person, because someone that lies about everything is not trustworthy, and I wouldn't want to spend my time and energy on someone like that. How to deal with your ex-husband you share a child with and also just married his mistress. First of all, I'm sorry, because that's super shitty to have to endure and go through. When it comes to co-parenting, for me, the thing that I always think about is what is in the best interest of Kinsley, my daughter in this case. So whatever's in the best interest of your child, I think trying to be the bigger person in that regard and realizing, you don't have to like him. You don't have to like her. Obviously, you're not going to, given the situation, but showing up with a friendly demeanor and trying your best when your kid is around to just have your head held high and show them what a strong woman looks like. That's most important to me. So instead of thinking about being nice to them or collaborating and co-parenting and working together as like a favor to them when they did you so dirty, I would think more about it as doing the right thing by your kid and just trying to show up for your kid rather than them, if that makes sense. Best friend has been two-faced for years, and I just found out. What do I do? Do I end the relationship or do I end the friendship? This one's also tough because it depends how rooted the friendship is, and it depends what they did to be two-faced. I don't like to surround myself with people like this personally. I think that there are different outcomes of friendship breakups though, right? There are times when someone does something so terrible that it's like a full-blown friendship breakup. You go your separate ways. It's a whole thing. And then there's times when you find out that people have been two-faced and been saying little things about you behind your back, and you take a step back, and it's not necessarily even a conversation. It's just they get downgraded a couple of friend levels. For me, I have like my very best, closest friends that I would take a bullet for. And then I have people that I'm friends with, that I care about, that care about me, but they don't know everything about my life. And I don't tell them everything about my life. And those are kind of like my tiers of friendship. I tried to cut out like the fringe friends. Of course, I have like some fringe friends, just people who I know I'm, chill with, cool with, but I don't invest my time in them. But there's kind of those two different tiers of friendships. The ones that know everything, that like if you go down, they're going down to, like bail you out of jail kind of friend. And then there's the we're friends, but I am intentionally not divulging all of my life to you on a daily basis. And so there's a world where if you guys have a lot of mutual friends and you don't want it to be this huge blow up thing, that you just downgrade this person a friendship level, and you're no longer investing as much time in them. She's probably going to pick up on it, and you're probably going to have that conversation eventually, assuming this is a girl, whomever. But I think at the end of the day, either downgrade a friend level. Definitely don't keep the situation the same. Either downgrade a friend level, which I think is like a healthy, good boundary for you to have with the person, or completely remove them from your life if it's really that bad. Also worth a conversation, probably, to kind of stand up for yourself. Just, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, these are things that I've heard and I found out. I'm super disappointed because I viewed you as a close friend and that clearly hasn't been returned. And like, I no longer want to move forward with being friends with you. I think that you can say things like that in a way where you're still carrying yourself with class, but you're communicating. So either downgrade a friend level or completely excommunicate pending the rest of the situation. My ex of 3 years wants to get back together, but I'm hesitant. Mental health was a major factor and he's gotten better. My family isn't a fan, but deep down, I have my what if moments. I am usually a huge proponent of you broke up for a reason. More oftentimes than not, you find yourself in the same situation. Again, it ends up almost being a lesson on repeat. I want you to ask yourself a couple of things. One, have you worked on yourself? Are you at a place where you feel as though you can like pull out the lessons from the experience? You know what they are, you're clear on them. So if any of those red flags pop up again, you know to walk immediately. Or do you still need to do the self-work? And then what are the what ifs? Like, what are you really wondering about? Because the situation played out and it didn't work for a reason. The only time, and there are, of course, those circumstances, like I said earlier in the podcast, where, it didn't work out. And then someone's like, it didn't work out. And we ran into each other at a yoga class and we fell in love. Now we have 87 kids, like whatever. Yeah, it happens sometimes, but that's the exception, not the rule. Typically, you're the rule. In most scenarios, that's why it's the rule. It's the vast majority of the time. I think when it comes to a situation where you've been with someone for 3 years too, you have had a 3-year sample size with this person. They've had 3 years to show you who they are. You should have a pretty damn good grasp on it by now and know if it's something that you want to relet into your life. But at the end of the day, if it left in the first place, like, you should probably just keep it gone, in my opinion, especially if your family isn't a fan of the person. It's likely because of things that you shared with them or things that they witnessed, and they also want the best for you. So I would say keep proceeding forward. I love my husband and he's an A+ father, and together we make a really good team, have common goals, but I don't feel in love with him anymore. Can I get it back? Therapy? ? If you still love the person, they're a great father, you have common goals, and you work well as a team together, I would absolutely try therapy to get it back. Try spicing it up again. Do the weekly date nights, do check-ins, do fun things together, book a trip, like get out of your comfort zone, shake it up a little bit, and try to make it work. If you came to me with this question and you said, he's a terrible father and he's mean to me, do I make it work? Like, I would say no. But I think in this situation, it sounds like there's way more good than there is bad. Maybe make a pros and cons list. give him some things he can work on, ask if he has things that you can work on, and really try to make like a concerted effort to get the chemistry back and the spark back, book a couples massage, like, do fun things like that. Get some of those card games where you ask each other questions and try to spice it up and like reconnect. People grow. It's normal to grow apart. The goal would obviously be to stay close enough to your partner that when you grow, you're growing together. But if that hasn't happened, I do think that you can retroactively almost try to date that person, especially if you still have a lot of love for them and there's more good than there is bad, it sounds like. So I would absolutely try therapy, mix in with like a variety of the other things I mentioned. He keeps liking their pics on social media. I'm about to get heated for this one. I get angry. He apologizes and it repeats. It doesn't sound like he's sorry. It doesn't sound at all like he's sorry. It sounds like he's guilty and repetitively keeps getting caught for being guilty. And then it's just like apologizing. But this isn't a fucking game of Monopoly. And he doesn't get to just like get out of jail every time he passes go and get $200 and he gets another chance and he goes to jail and then he passes go. Like that's kind of what I feel like is happening here. If you have expressed to him that it bothers you and he isn't getting it, I would cut the fish loose, my friend. There are plenty more in the sea. I think too, at the end of the day, if he is continually, because it's not just like liking a picture on social media, it's disrespect. It's also 2024. I feel like we're at the place where we know this to be pretty universally true. Regardless of if he does or doesn't get it, regardless of if he says it's just social media, it's just picture and he's like equating it to porn or whatever, it's like at the end of the day, it's still disrespectful because it's how you feel. Your feelings are valid. And if he can't recognize that's not him being a good partner, being kind or respectful to you. He doesn't necessarily have to get it or like agree with you, but he does need to respect that it's a problem for you. And if he can't do that, then he can't have you. Bye. I love this question. If you were totally broke, how would you slay? I was totally broke in college and I did slay. I used to go to Forever 21 with $40 and I would say, okay, I need to make like 3 outfits with $40, meaning like I would shop my closet. So I would take things I had in my closet and I would take like some of my favorite pieces. I would lay them on my bed. I would set them there and then I would say, okay, I've got my $40. So maybe I already have the jeans. I'm going to rock those. I'm just looking for a top. I have earrings I can pair with it. Great. That's all feels like a whole new fit to me. And I would do that. And then I would kind of like try to fill in the blanks like that, figure out how you can get more bang for your buck. I always loved a top and a dress because I feel like you can really make those feel fresh. A top, obviously you can wear it with like the jacket that you already have, the pants, the skirt that you already have. Feels like you can switch it up a lot, make a lot of outfits that way. I would also get like multitasking products. I would get a really great bronzer and I would use it as a bronzer and an eyeshadow. Things like that. So I would slay on a budget by getting things that I knew I could work and rework. Boyfriend and I do not have the same timeline for marriage. Should I wait for him to be ready or leave? Depends. Like, is this your person? I feel like at the end of the day, if you were genuinely happy with this person, the title of being engaged, being married, although it's exciting and you want to take that next step, like it's not an end all be all. So I would ask yourself if it's really him that you want to marry or if it's like the idea of him. If it's just the fact that you want to get married. Are you stuck in this societal timeline loop thing? Like you're 27 and now it's the time because everyone gets married when they're 27, or is this really your person? When you ask yourself that question, I think you'll have a lot more clarity on the answer. Because if you feel really strongly about this is your person and he's just not ready, then I don't see any harm in giving him a little bit of time. If he's not ready because he's not sure that he wants to be with you and you're sure, that's a whole other topic. I would say leave at that point because I would never want to be with someone that wasn't sure if they wanted to be with me. If it's just he wants to get his ducks in a row and he wants to be more financially stable and he wants to do things that are reasonable, waiting seems reasonable. But if it's just that like he doesn't know what the fuck he wants and you feel clear, then I think you can do better. Just had a baby with my boyfriend and I'm losing the spark. Okay, there's a lot. Maybe I need to do a whole podcast episode on like ways to get the spark back, the fire back, because there's a lot of things that I've lost, but the spark is one thing I managed to, I feel like, maintain always. And I've been in super healthy, amazing relationships. And I will say it's not that like the spark, you lose the spark. It's like you lose interest in the person as a whole, or you gather information about that person. You're no longer interested in them. That's not the same as really loving someone, wanting to be with them, and just needing to spice it up a little. So kind of try to bifurcate between, in a relationship, have you lost your interest in the person in general, or if you just lost the spark? If you've just lost the spark, find fun ways to switch it up by having those date nights, getting sets of cards, like doing a little at home date night, even grab a bottle of wine, like run a bath, make a fun playlist, like put effort in, ask him to plan a date night. Maybe you guys do like he plans 2 date nights, you plan 1, or he plans 3, you plan 1, whatever. Like he should still be pursuing. So I would say make sure that he's still doing more, but definitely like you can even set it up and show him, give him like some fun ideas of things you would like to do together. I think if you're still into the person and you want to make it work, then absolutely like just try to spice it up. Partner and I are actively working on ourselves, but a lot of ups and downs. It's now been 3 years and we still end up in the same cycles, stay or go. If you still feel like you're in a cycle repeat, and you're not married, I would probably go, to be honest. I think if you feel like you're making progress, but the progress is slow and it's somebody that you want to fight for, stay, suss it out, continue down that path. But if you end up, again, at go on the board every time and you're making no progress, then maybe there's just not progress to be made. Like there's just things, there's pillars, right? Of like compatibility pillars that you kind of can't break through. And if you're running into those compatibility pillar mismatches, then it's probably time to throw in the towel. How to navigate feeling lost in your 20s, and what do you do when you feel like you have zero direction? I will give you a hint. Everyone feels lost in their 20s at some point, whether it's in friendships or relationships or in their career path. Like most people don't have it figured out, whether they have the emotional capacity to actually feel lost, or I think some of this is personality based. Like I was always someone, like I've always get in my head a little bit and I overthink things. Like some people are just a little bit more simple. Maybe they don't think they're lost, but they don't have a clear direction. You sound like a thinker and somebody that is pretty aware of like how you're feeling, which I think is great. I would say it's okay. 20s is the time to be lost a little bit. I would kind of suggest doubling down. Hot take. I would get more lost. I would like try a bunch of different things, see what lands, see what you like, go take a trip, travel somewhere. I think sometimes we find ourselves when we immerse ourselves in other experiences, like get out of your own head, get out of your own way a little bit. I think you might find your path a little easier that way, but just exhale and realize that you're only in your 20s. You got a long way to go, God willing, lots more adventures to be had. It's okay to not have it figured out. Nobody does. And sometimes the people that really make you have it, that think that they have it figured out, are the ones that are the most lost. Is friends with benefits with an ex unhinged? We have separate lives, but enjoy when we're together. I wouldn't call it unhinged. I would call it like unhealthy, probably. I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to fuck with a friend like that because you're just asking to get hurt. It's kind of giving situationship after the fact. Like once you've really been in a relationship, been close with someone, loved them, or just had like those really intimate experiences, it's really hard to dial it back. Somebody is going to get hurt. I don't want it to be you. So I personally would exit stage left on that. If all you're getting is like the benefits, you can get your benefits elsewhere. My boyfriend is so sweet, but he gets defensive and unreasonable when we argue. How to get past this? I want to say this as a blanket statement. I feel like oftentimes when we love someone, we really want it to work and we see the best in them. Oftentimes, I've completely been guilty of this too. We say things like, my boyfriend is amazing, but he has anger problems. And it's kind of like, is he amazing if he has anger problems? Or like, does he have anger problems, right? So I think for me, it's like, if he's unreasonable, I don't know that I would call him sweet, you know? I guess he could be sweet at the same time in moments and then have these moments of being defensive and unreasonable. If he's willing to work on himself, I think being defensive is one thing. Being unreasonable is what worries me in this situation, because if someone is unreasonable, they're not logical and they're hard to reason with. Those people are really hard to deal with because they're illogical. And I think I struggle with people like that because you can't find like a common ground with them. So if he gets defensive and he's falling on the fence on the side of defensiveness, I think we can work with it. If he's unreasonable, if he's mean, if he's kind of like illogical, I would run for the hills. I wouldn't try to get past it at that point because it's like his problem, you know? Boyfriend of 8 months isn't mentally ready to be intimate and have sex. What do I do or say? I think it depends on his reasons. I would get curious if I were you in this moment. I would get really curious. Are you guys like hooking up and you get to that point and he's trying not to cross the line? Like, is he really religious? Is he like what? I don't know what being mentally ready means. That sounds like a little sus to me. So I would get curious and ask questions. If it's like a faith thing, and that's something that you guys had communicated about, then I would say obviously respect that. If you are on the same page or if you want to be on the same page. But if he's not really giving you good communication surrounding why he isn't mentally ready, then I would be like concerned and sussed out by that. So I would say if it were me, I would get really curious about it, ask him a lot of questions, say you want to have an open conversation, see if you can get on the same page and understand his POV and where he's coming from. If after hearing where he's coming from, it sounds reasonable and you feel the same way, move forward. If it's not adding up and making sense, then I would leave. I dislike my best friend's husband. We've been friends for years and I managed to keep my distance, but now that she's pregnant, I've been faced to be around him. I shouldn't say anything, right? It depends why you don't like him. Like, is he just not your vibe? Does he rub you the wrong way? Or has he done something that's inappropriate? I think if he's done something shitty, and this is genuinely your best friend, they deserve to know the truth. In a world where people are always trying to get away with things and hide things and be shady. I love the rise of like this girl's girl, like women I feel like are banding together more than ever to help each other out. If you're really coming from a good place, if you see genuine red flags and things that are really wrong, I would probably find a way to say something, to be honest. Absolutely, if it were me. But if it's just you don't like him because like he's a little annoying or he doesn't not a good communicator or like you just don't vibe with him, then I would just try to be there and support and not say anything because you don't have to marry, like you're not married to the guy. So you can see him in small doses. But if he's being like disrespectful to her and you see that these are all red flags, then I'd try to have a conversation with her like around that in a healthy, supportive, like, hey, you know what? I love you. I'm here for you. These are some things as your best friend that I've noticed. I just want to bring it to your attention and talk to you about it because I care about you. I would approach it that way. That's it for today, you guys. What would Courtney do? Hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to ask you guys next time we do this to give me like as much detail as possible. Maybe what we can do is have y'all put your question in the box. And then if you need to expand, maybe like DM it to me. That way I can open it up and get like a longer response because I want to be able to help you guys as much as possible. And to do that, I need the context. So let me know if you guys like these What Would Courtney Do episodes. And don't forget to follow along on Instagram, comment here, or just like send me a DM if you want to see me do these monthly. Or I can do these maybe like even at the end of episodes. We can take 5 questions every week. So don't forget to follow along over on Instagram. Obviously, follow the podcast. I love you guys. I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.